Welcome once again, fans of Let's Be Real podcast. Welcome to our preview of the Sevilla home game at the Bernabeu. It's actually promising to be quite an interesting weekend, a weekend that could, end with Real Madrid being top of the league, considering all what's been going on. I think that would be a fairly, very, interesting proposition. And before we delve into the preview of Sevilla, let's, give a shout out to our sponsors for today's episode, Manscaped, for all the male grooming that's required, these holidays to give the special one or, a special friend. Just go down to Manscaped and you can get all the products that uh, is suitable for male grooming, and also they also have loungewears for also for females as well. It's just not limited to male apparels as well. So you can find all of that there, and just show some love by using the LBR20 discount code to get 20% off of your purchases on Manscaped during this Christmas break, and as well as our other sponsors, Fanatics as well. You can get all the sports apparels on the website. You can use our code. It's also there in the description as well. And finally, to talk about the fan network that we are part of, the Talksport Fan Network. Talksport, the biggest football radio show in the UK. It's an honor and a privilege to be part of of such a prestigious network. And yeah, the links to all that are just down below in the description box. And with that out of the way, today, I welcome my co-pilot. Not the usual suspects, but yeah, we'll make do with Sahel today. Hey Sahel, man, how are you doing? How was your how you're still on the high of winning the game yesterday or no? Like, how did you? What's your take on the game yesterday, and how are you feeling in general?
Hi Farouk, yeah, first of all, um, about yesterday's game. I mean, you had to mention it right away, but I wish I would have been back home in Doha because I would have definitely gone and watched my team play. But it is what it is, and it was obviously we expected a dominant display. It was just a matter of not, coming back to Spain without any injuries, and that pretty much took place. So that was the only thing we were worried about going into the fixture. I think coming back with a Club World Cup trophy is a boost in itself, but it was a formality given how the the importance of the tournament itself has declined in recent seasons. It's seen more so as a mid-season friendly more than anything, but definitely one trophy out of the way. So that gives us a boost, and I definitely enjoyed watching Rodrigo's performance. I know the goal stood out, and also Bellingham. He was mesmerizing. He was really effective in midfield. And obviously Vinicius being back, Mbappe's getting on the on the score sheet. Really good signs, but it's just a matter of translating all of that into La Liga, because these past few weeks we've been dropping points um, when we most don't want to drop points, when we desperately need to recover the gap on Barcelona. um, yeah, that's about it, I think.
Yeah, that those are very good points, and that just that's even the greater thing about this weekend. As you just rightly highlighted, like we've been dropping points left, right, and center. In the league, and especially in the last game we played against Rayo, it was a 3-3 draw. After going 3-2 up, and then we eventually still could not see out the game. But that's the thing, like we go into this weekend knowing that we win on Sunday, we go
Mhm.
top. Of course, like
Yeah.
that's before the super game on Sunday night as well, because like it's quite interesting, because like this weekend the first place, literally I think third or second, I think, yeah, first place second, which is Barcelona against Atletico Madrid. And if that good result goes well and we win our game against Sevilla, actually we could end the year top of the league, and that's
Top of
quite
the league,
impressive.
right?
And especially considering we have a game in hand on Barcelona. Atleti also have a game in hand, by the way. So like that would be a phenomenal end to the season, considering what, as you rightly highlighted, the mixed and match form that we've had, throughout the campaign so far in the league. So not just in the league, but also throughout our plays even in Europe as well. So it's going to be quite interesting. So that's just the thing. Like before we delve into this, like I would just ask, like, are you kind of do you think like we're disregarding Atletico Madrid, or what's your take on Atletico Madrid? Because like right now they are equal on points with Barcelona, 1 point more than we have,
Yeah.
and also like they have played one game less than Barcelona in the same amount of games that we have played.
Yeah.
Antoine Griezmann is back to the form of old. Julian Alvarez is finally finding, his form, and the Rodrigo de Paul is looking like, the player that they thought they bought, 3 years ago. So what's your take on Atletico Madrid?
It's easy to disregard Atletico Madrid because they clearly aren't the force they were at the peak of their powers under Simeone. They aren't as defensively confident, or they don't have the same standards in their depth. But going the other way, I think they've improved a lot these past few seasons. They've obviously moved on from Morata. Alvarez has taken over, and there's a few other like really energetic players in midfield they've got. They didn't start the season very well, and like any other team, the injuries took over. But I think as of late, they are of the top three teams, they've been the most consistent, I would say. So yeah, it's easy to look over Atletico because you would almost expect them to falter off later into the season, and you would say that of any team. Like even if a Betis or a Girona like last season were in the top three, you would expect them to go on a decline, say come January or February. But Atletico have been here and they've done the same thing before in past seasons, so I wouldn't put it out of their reach to really clinch La Liga beyond Real Madrid and Barca. I think it really comes down to balance in the end, balancing Europe with La Liga. If Madrid, uh, I think there is still a slight chance that we go out of Europe, and if that does happen, then I think we start focusing on La Liga more. Uh, but yeah, Atletico, I don't know how their European thing looks. Not sure.
Yeah, so like what I'm getting from what you're seeing now is that like Atletico Madrid, like irrespective of what Atletico does or not, like the
Mm.
title is still Real Madrid to lose. So, like you're saying, like if we get our business done,
Yeah,
irrespective of what happens with Atletico Madrid, more or less, we should be able
absolutely,
to,
absolutely.
to get the business done. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. I do definitely think so as well. But I just feel like at least I personally, like considering like the start that Atletico had, like I've been a bit. I've been I've like not taking them too seriously, but like they're currently on a
Exactly.
they've been on a 6 or 7 game winning streak or something like that,
Mm.
So I do think, and having played the game less, they have the same number of points as the leaders Barcelona, and their defense is looking mean once again, as you highlighted again, with the key additions in the middle of the park, Julian Alvarez joining, in place of Alvaro Morata, so all of that, comes into, you put all of that together, and you see some of the games that they've played, and how slick the attack has looked. It kind of like gives you a bit of the element of doubt in your mind that okay, like Atletico might like my main business this time around. So it's going to be quite interesting to see. But I just kind of wanted to get your opinion on that, because I feel like we are sleeping on those guys, and we're not taking them too serious. Like we're just focusing
Yeah.
so much on Barcelona, whereas like they have literally the same amount of points as Barcelona, having played a game less. And yeah, but speaking of that, what do you think of the tie at the weekend? Before we get to our tie, like the Barcelona against the Atletico Madrid game, do you think there is any hope for optimism? Because the point I'm asking this is like, for
Mm.
me, based on what I've seen in the past years, no matter how good Atletico Madrid are, they go to play Barcelona and it's like schoolboys, against like seasoned professionals. They literally become schoolboys. In all the games that I've seen with Simeone, it's like they get results here and there, but like they go and play Barcelona and it's like all of a sudden like all their form goes out the window, and like they're kind of like hanging on to a thread or something like this. Do you think like this year might be different? The game against Barcelona for Atletico Madrid, like is there a possibility of something happening there?
There is, because you could make a case for Barcelona's form. They've only won once in their past five. So, and on the other hand, obviously Atleti's form has been incredible. Um, but the thing is, they always go into their shell when they play Barca. It's very different to when they play us. Like in Madrid derbies, you could at least see an end-to-end approach sort of thing from them. But when they play Barca, especially when they play Barca away, they go into their shell and they don't, even if they're losing 1-0 or 2-0, the team just feels lifeless, and they don't feel a sense of retaliation in their approach. Like I don't see where the counter punch is coming from. But like you said, this Atleti team is different, and uh, likes of Griezmann can inspire something incredible. But even then, I would see that as a little bit of a shock. because as terrible as Barca have been as of late, I think what they've shown up until that point, up until like 3 weeks prior in the season, still goes to show for a lot. So they should have enough quality to be able to beat Atleti. But having said that, I think a draw would be the best result for us.
Exactly. As a Real Madrid fan, like a draw is definitely, a victory for us because like, that draw basically, because if there is a victory in that game, we don't finish the season. We don't finish the year top of the league. But a draw more or
Yeah,
less, a draw basically cements that if we're able to win, we go top. And also having played a game less than Barcelona, as I mentioned in the past, that would be more than great. Although like Atletico Madrid will just be 1 point behind us also with a game with that same, with having played the same number of games and also having one game in hand of Barcelona, that would be great. As you also highlighted, like the form of Barcelona has been, faltering, and I think the injuries are starting to, catch up to them, which is also like something that we've faced a lot as well, this season. So yeah, it's all part and parcel of the game. But yeah, it's shaping up to be quite an interesting, three-horse battle for the title. But of course, like we can never discount Atletico Bilbao as well. In the fourth place, I think they're like 3 or 4 points behind us as well.
yeah,
Of course, having played one game more, but yeah, I mean, as you just highlighted, like the point is like with Atletico Madrid, that these are seasoned, specialists. They've been there, done that, on multiple occasions, so they know how to get over the line. When you compare them to clubs like Atletico Bilbao, at least in recent years. But yeah, a draw between Barcelona and Atletico Madrid will definitely be a victory for Real Madrid. Hopefully that we also can get the job done against Sevilla as well. Speaking of that, like let's just delve into Sevilla a little bit. And before we get onto the whole Sevilla thingy, the tomorrow actually, like sorry, not tomorrow. The game on Sunday is going to be the last game that Jesus Navas plays as a
yeah, yeah,
professional footballer.
yeah.
He's gonna retire at the Santiago Bernabeu.
Mm.
Uh, do you have any kind words to share for Jesus Navas or?
No, obviously, I think it's more of an emotional thing for Spanish fans and people who've followed Spanish football. I think I can count myself as one of them. And having followed the national team for a few years, I think this guy can play. He's been playing right wing, right back. He's played midfield. Basically, the entire right hand side of for Sevilla, for Spain, on countless occasions. It's for Sevilla fans. It's just for the Sevilla fans that will be present at the Bernabeu, and I'm sure there'll be quite a few of them. Uh, it'll be incredibly emotional for a club legend, for a guy with such a storied career to go out, especially like this midway through the season. I think you could us as Madrid fans, we don't really know what it feels like. When a legend retires at the club, we haven't felt that in quite a while. Uh, but yeah, definitely for Spanish football fans, for Sevilla fans in general, great legend of the game. I think he's carried on till 39, which is incredible in itself.
That's definitely true, and that's the thing. Like, he started actually the last game at, when they played, I think was it Celta? Yeah, they played Celta.
Mm.
They played their last game was against Celta. Like he
In the
started
front three,
that
I
game.
think.
Yeah, he started that game in attacking sense. So that also tells you that at 39 he's still able to put it off. It's not like he's just there for like for pity or anything. Like he's see, I mean, he played a couple of games for Spain, and the Euros in the summer as well. So that tells you what you need to know. And he's not just legend for Sevilla as you highlighted as well. He's a legend for the Spanish game as a whole. And he's also the most decorated Spanish player actually with 2 Euros, one World Cup, and one what's he called Nations League. So he has 4 national titles, which makes him the most decorated Spanish national team player as well. So I would expect like Real Madrid as a club and the fans as well to pay
A
homage
gesture, yes.
to pay homage to one of the greats of the game. As you said as well, it's not something that we're used to. I don't remember, but I think Toni Kroos retiring last year was the only. I don't know. I think it
Yeah,
was the only
exactly. I
time
know.
was
That
the
was
only
the only
time I've
time
seen
I remember
a
him
Real
being
Madrid
celebrated.
player retire at the club, at least a proper Real Madrid player, like a proper player for Real Madrid. So as you said, like it's not something that we're used to, but of course, like like any fan of football, always we have to appreciate greatness when we see it, and like Jesus Navas has been one of those, and what he means for Sevilla
And
is
he's been a
something.
one club man. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, he went to City for 4 years actually. He won
Right.
a
Okay. Fine.
he won a Premier League title at City and all that. But that's the thing, like whenever you read about him at City, they always talk about like a different kind of player because like although like yeah, of course like he played I think almost 200 games for City as well in 4 years. That's like on an average of
I remember
more than
they were
40 games a
20.
season. So like it means that he was performing. If you're able to play more than 40 games a season, he won the league title. I think he won 3 cups or something like that. So like it's not like his time there was a flop. But one thing that you
Right.
always hear about Jesus Navas when he was in England was that he was always homesick. He was constantly going back, to Seville and going back and going back, going back and going. That goes to show you, like the kind of connection that he has, with the city of Seville, and not just the club, but rather, the city as well and its people there. That says a lot. And I was actually seeing some of the clips from this farewell, like there was no dry, eyes in the stadium. Everyone was literally just, sobbing like a kid. It says how much, the love that exists between him and them is. It's great to see all of this, this is, one of the things that also attracts us to football, because football literally transcends, the four, white lines on the pitch. It goes more than that and touches people's life in different ways. But yeah, anyways, moving on to Jesus Navas' team. Sevilla. So like Sevilla, actually, I think they're 11th in the league, and
Yeah,
they're
11.
11th in the league. They have 2 victories in the last 6 games. They haven't been able to score a lot of goals, and also they haven't been able to
True.
keep teams out. And also, you look at the game against, or the game I remember very well because I saw a very extended highlight of that a couple of days or weeks back actually when they played Atletico Madrid. They were 3-1 up in that game, but they still lost it 4-3. And the
4-3,
interesting
yeah.
thing about that game is that you look at Sevilla, yeah, and you watch the game, but you still feel like although they were 3-1 up, you never still got the confidence that they were gonna win the game. Because literally almost every ball was breaking their lines. Like almost every through ball was like almost breaking their lines, literally. Even in the game against Celta Vigo as well, like in the first, before they scored their goal, in the first half, like I think Sevilla had like almost 3 1-on-1s with the keeper. Sorry, Celta had almost 3 1-on-1s with the keeper. So like there is this trend that occurs with them. Like when you see, at least based on the highlights I've seen, that they have actually a very, very thin backline, I would say. They are very susceptible, to chances. Like literally every ball through the line is almost, is almost a chance more or less for the opposition team. So because of that, actually, I don't know, I kind of feel like I fancy our chance, against Sevilla
Mhm.
a bit. But then again, it's Sevilla. Like this has always been a very difficult tie for Real Madrid, either
That's
it's
true.
away or at home. So I don't know. What's your take? What do you think about the game? How are you thinking the game's gonna shape up?
No, like you said, historically it's always been a tight game for Real Madrid. Sevilla sides of the past have been like masters at keeping possession of the ball, and they've played us around really well. And every time they've been able to do that like successfully. We've had a hard time, even in getting narrow 1-0 or 2-0 victories. We've had to work our asses off, right? And you know that there are certain frailties in their defense, and their depth, the squad depth isn't really quite, something that would allow them to compete with the top 6 at this point in time. But you can see that Garcia Pimenta he's a new manager at the club, and he's still trying to figure out what is best for the team. And once the current crop of players goes out, I think Jesus Navas is one of them. Uh, some of the aging players go out. I think he's been really brave in giving some of these midfielders, good amount of time. I noticed, I've went through their squad, and I noticed quite a number of 21, 22 year olds. Lucien Agume, what's his name? Juan Luis Sanchez. These guys getting a lot of game time. So I think it's been a brave approach, but also that's backfired on some ends. Uh, like you mentioned, they've been easy to play through their midfield, and apart from like a clear decline in their standards and aging squad, that is one of the issues, their defensive record. And when their attack doesn't, come up with the goals, like you said, I think they've only scored like 18 times in 17 fixtures this season. So that's really poor for even for a team that's 11th in the league. Uh, that's not acceptable for Sevilla, I think. Uh, so I think leading the line in Hacho, he he has to take some of that responsibility, some of that goal scoring onus on his shoulders going forward. They've only won. I think they lost to Atleti, and who did they lose to? Sociedad. Their past 5. Sociedad, Leganes as well. So
Yeah.
I can understand Atleti and Sociedad, but Leganes, I don't see Sevilla teams of the past losing to, Leganes. They would manage narrow wins against most, mid-table and even bottom-table clubs. Uh, but even at their worst day, they would still manage a 1-0 or a 2-0. But this Sevilla squad is just, I think it's struggling more than they used to. But like again, the context is important. A couple seasons ago, they were in the relegation zone, so you've got to take things into account. And 11th in the league midway through the season, I think you could go anywhere from here.
Yeah, that's true, and especially when you consider, like we talk about being 11th in the league, like they're 11, like they're more or less, I think, around 10 points or something like that away from the relegation zone, and more or less they're like
Yeah.
I think 5 points away from the European sports as well. Like okay, not the Champions League sport, but like the Europa League and the Conference League kind of thing. So I get what you're saying that it's not all too bad for them. But yeah, I mean, I think the key point you highlighted there is about the lack of functionality of the attack, of the offense. Okay, yeah, it's a new coach, but I feel like they went in big on Kelechi Iheanacho, the Nigerian forward. But unfortunately, like Kelechi Iheanacho has not been able to, repay that fate that the club put him in the summer, and he has, because of that, like the attack has not been able to function. Also, he has also been in and out of the team consistently. So like I wouldn't be surprised, if they were to part ways either in the winter transfer or in the summer transfer window. But I think that has opened up a chance for a new leader to emerge in their offense in form of Luka Bakio. As you were saying, like they've scored 18 or 17 goals in the league. I'm not sure, and like
Yeah,
Luka Bakio has literally scored 7 of those. So it's about like 40% of the total goals that has been scored by Luka Bakio, the winger. So like that literally tells us where the threat is gonna be. Like when we play the game, we just have to look at. We have to pay attention to Luka Bakio, definitely on the left hand side, and that's where the question now comes. Like when you look at what we have on
yeah,
our right to counter what they have on their left. It's
true,
Lucas
true.
Vasquez against Luka Bakio now, Dodi Luka Bakio. And as I said, 7 goals, in 17 matches. That's not a bad return. That's not a bad return for a winger who is in a team that's struggling offensively.
Yeah,
So like that's if there is anything, I think that's the one place that, might kind of bring a bit of doubts to your mind that okay, like how would Lucas Vasquez cope against such a player. And I mean, we're not throwing any shit to Lucas Vasquez here. This is a key thing. Even yesterday after the post match, we had some people in the comment talking about like, oh, Lucas Vasquez is this, Lucas Vasquez is that. I mean, the point is, we all know what Lucas Vasquez is, and he's playing to what we know.
yeah.
You understand? We all know that Lucas Vasquez is not a proper defender. He's gonna get
beaten. Yeah,
Exactly. He's gonna get beaten. He's gonna get destroyed every time when he comes up against even not even a proper winger, a shitty winger. Even yesterday in the game as well, we saw in the first half there were a couple of moments where like players who are playing who are like 11th in the Liga MX in Mexico, like we're like turn you inside out continuously. So like Tokla was saying, like when you look at a player like Luka Bakio, who is levels and levels above those guys, so of course like you're gonna expect this. But the question now becomes like, does this now become the weak link of the team? Does it now become the way they attack us? And the interesting thing about Sevilla is always that I don't know if you saw any of the highlights, is that they actually take shit ton of shots from outside the box. I mean, as you also, I think one thing that also plays into that, as you mentioned, is like the rawness of the player. Like the players, they have a lot of young players in there. The coach is trying to do something different with the team. So like this rawness can also become like naivety, or it can be also like be a moment of ingenious as well, because the goal they scored at the weekend was literally from also outside the box. I think they
yeah.
scored 2 goals against even Atleti even from outside the box as well. So like this is the thing, like, or even if not outside, just around the box or something like that. So they also have that that ability. So I also I wonder about that. Now if we play against these guys, the space that will occur between our fullbacks and our center backs, can also be something that they exploit, as we've seen in the past. As I think it was, I can't remember which game it was where we had the issue with I think it was Tchouaméni and Lucas Vasquez, like not being able to understand where to exploit or which space. I can't remember the game, but I do remember the scene in my head right now. So I think that's something that we might have to might have to think about. But I don't know, like, do you think Luka Bakio poses any worry to you in your mind, or how do you think we approach a player in form such as Luka Bakio?
I haven't, like, I'll be honest, I haven't watched the guy, but having said that, our defense on the wings, especially with Fran Garcia starting and obviously Lucas Vazquez is going to play for quite a while, it doesn't give me confidence, right? It just makes me feel like going the other way, we've got to do enough to not feel like these two are bringing us down. But it's just obvious at this point that you know what they bring to the table. It's just a matter of getting the best out of them in those aspects, and then who cares what happens in the other way, right? That's the way I would look at it. But in a tight game like against Sevilla, you're not going to have, you know, you're not going to be given too many opportunities because, like you said, they've got a winger who can basically turn your fullback inside out, and then they can shoot from outside the box. Lucas running back, he's not the best. Half the time he needs either Chouameni or Valverde mostly to bail him out. So I would just hope that we have a good plan B against a winger like this because Valverde more often than not will rush back to help Lucas Vazquez. And even if not, I think look, Chouameni on his own, he'll do fine at centre back. It's just a matter of not allowing those shots to come in and putting enough pressure on these midfielders, and really, really bringing that that Sevilla front three compact, trying to keep them within running range. I think it's more of a Fran and a Vasquez problem than a Real Madrid defensive issue. I know you could see this as a general defensive issue, but it's just that these two individuals more so specifically are I don't want to use the word incapable, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
they're not at that level when it comes to defending, and it's just these are the days when you miss your Dani Carvajals and your Ferland Mendy's. But yeah, do you think Raul Asensio will be starting, or do you think we see Chouameni continue?
No, I think they're gonna go with continuity. I do think we're gonna see. At least that's what I think.
I don't want to see Raul Asensio though.
I mean, I don't know, man. Because anyways, okay, we talk about that when we talk about the lineups. Let's just
Sure.
also highlight the fact that for Sevilla, although they've been unable to be offensively potent this year. But they actually have assists that is distributed around the team. I think they have 3 players who have 3 assists each. So that tells that there is a chance of creativity. And one of those players is he's no stranger. It's Saúl Ñíguez, formerly of Atletico Madrid as well. So he might also have a point to prove or have a score to settle with us as well. So it's going to be quite interesting, to see how we deal with this because the thing is, as we said, they're not offensively potent, but they have this ability to have that spark, you understand, as it's highlighted by the distribution of assists among different players, and also as we talked about the left hand side with Dodi Lukebakio, facing what is, at least considering all the wink links we have, it's the most obvious weak link that exists in our defensive lineup as well. So it's going to be quite interesting. I'm
actually worried about the cross that goes into the far post more than anything, because even Germany looks lost sometimes in the air, except Rudiger. All of them do. Obviously, Vasquez and Fran, they're not really great in the air. So if the cross comes in from either side onto the far post into the box, if Iheanacho meets it, that might be a cause for trouble.
And that's also true as well. But I mean, I'm not too sure even if Iheanacho starts, because they've also always rotated with Iheanacho and also Isaac Romero.
Papu Gomez is out, right?
Yeah, but I mean, they play with Isaac Romero actually. There's this. Yeah, I think he's a young striker or whatever that they got as well, Isaac Romero, because also he scored. I think his first goal was against Atletico Madrid or something like that. I can't remember, but I think he has one or 2 goals in the league this season. Also, he has a couple of assists as well. So I think maybe he is clicking better with the other attackers than Iheanacho has been so far. But yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure if Iheanacho starts or not, but I do get what you're saying about the fact that the crossing to the back post and all that. Because the point is, when it comes to the issue of the back post, you don't have to be the tallest person, because the point, it means that your centre backs have missed the ball. Yeah. You understand? So you don't have to be like a Zlatan kind of person. You don't have to be the tallest. You don't have to be Erling Haaland to be able to head the ball, since already centre backs have missed the ball. So it's more or less your free header to just put wherever you want to put it. So I do get that fair, and that's something that we just have to find a way to deal with. But I'm not I don't think that's too much of a problem against Sevilla, except for the corner
Against
kicks.
Sevilla,
And,
not against Sevilla, but
exactly,
you can say,
except
yeah.
for the corner kicks or stuff like that, where they come up with their centre backs and all, all the physicality that they have into the box. That's also going to be an avenue to worry about. But let's see, they are not too good offensively, but they can have a moment of brilliance. But I do think the ability that they have or rather the lack of ability that they have in the space between the midfield and the defense is something that's very prime for Real Madrid to exploit, especially with the return of Vinicius Junior and like what looks like Rodrigo might be getting back into form as well. And we've seen Kylian Mbappe also playing like Kylian Mbappe of old, at least showing glimpses of that. So it might be quite interesting when you put that, you add Bellingham into that as well. It might be, prime for exploitation by the offensive line of Real Madrid as well. But before we get into the Real Madrid side of things and discuss the lineups, let's just, read some of the chats.
Yeah.
And we have Hassan in the chat. He says, the team should have left Vasquez behind in Qatar, or someone should have stolen his passport so he doesn't travel back to Madrid. Yeah, that's just feeds back into what we were saying with Sahel as well. Like the point is, yeah, you can be harsh on Vasquez or anything, but like everyone knows what Vasquez is. Like it's not like we expect Vasquez to be a world-class right back and he's becoming shit. No, like everyone knows what Vasquez is and he's delivering exactly what we know he's gonna deliver. So for me, I have no issue. It's something that we know. He's doing a job. This is the limitation that he has, and this limitation are being exploited. And there's nothing else to be done about this. That's just it. Ashik also says, what's up, all? Hello, Ashik, how are you doing? He says, draw between Colocheros and the dumbasses will be the best result for us, but we need to worry about the match. Sevilla is in bad form, but they will turn up against us. They always do. What we can control is what we do. Our boys need to deliver. Every match is a final. Okay, every match is a final. That was the rhetoric of Zinedine Zidane in his second stint. But yeah, I think that's just the point there. Like irrespective of what happens between Barcelona and Atletico Madrid, we need to get the business done. As Sahil also rightly pointed out at the beginning, that no matter what Atletico Madrid does or what Barcelona does, like if we deal with our business, we win the title. That's just it. We were able to get stuff done. And we have one last comment here. It's from Dennis. It says, "I think the Sevilla game will be a draw." Oh wow! He's already jumped to the predictions, which is the last part of the show. Anyways, let's get back and yeah. Okay, so what do we think? The lineup is going to look like. Do you want to start out with the back five?
Back five or back four?
I mean, back five, including
sorry. Okay, obviously, I mean, Courtois.
Yeah.
Vasquez, like I said, I want to see Asensio because he's young and he's exciting. But Tchouaméni can't really find, a role for himself in midfield. I just hope he would have been a little more, potent in midfield. So this wouldn't really be a question. And then he just goes straight back to midfield. But that's not really been the case with his form. So Tchouaméni sadly continues in defense. Rudiger, who seems to be the only guy who's been fit throughout the season. Fran Garcia, because Mendy's not fit, I think. And in midfield, I think Camavinga is, after that game, he looks already looks ready to start. Camavinga, Valverde, Bellingham.
But don't you think there is a difference? Sorry, before you go to the forward, don't you think there's a difference? So because I showed that in the short 60+ minutes that Camavinga played against, of course, like a very, very inferior opponent.
Yeah,
he offered much more than Tchouaméni has offered while playing in the middle of the park.
I do agree, and I've said this before. I think Suned has said this before as well. I know he has a moment or two where he shows his carelessness, but that's only one or two times in every game. And apart from that, he's really perfect in every other aspect. He's progressing the ball. He's running back to make slide tackles to defend, and I think he's doing his best where he can. Everything else that goes wrong, I think, is out of Camavinga's control. A player like that can really influence the game on the left-hand side. Even on the left-hand side, Vinicius generally, or Mbappe, whoever's playing there, generally seems a lot more threatening when Camavinga's playing. So with a player like him, you've just got to capitalize.
But that's the thing, though. Then this now begs the question, what happens to Tchouaméni then?
Tchouaméni, once Militao is back. But that's still a long time in the future, so I don't think there's a point of discussing that. Might as well be a case of Tchouaméni regaining his confidence or his form. By then, he might look more settled in defensive midfield. We might change systems by then. Who knows if Tchouaméni is playing in a single pivot or a double. So yeah, there's a lot of unanswered questions. And come the end of the season, again, we're talking about Modric on his way out. Possibly Ceballos, who knows? Right. Ceballos
Well,
himself has actually looked quite good when he's played as of late. All of these guys who don't really get to play that much. I know Modric without it goes without saying, but Ceballos, Brahim, Arda, we haven't seen much of Enrique, and that's the only guy we haven't talked about. But yeah, you would want to see those players off the bench. But yeah, continuing with the lineup, Camavinga, Valverde, Bellingham, and Vinicius, I would go through the middle because the last time Vinicius and Mbappe played together, that's where he played, and that seemed to work well. At least for the moment, I would stay Vinicius in the middle, Mbappe on the left, and Rodrigo on the right.
Vinicius actually is suspended.
Vinicius is right in the league. Okay, all right. So then, do you want an extra midfielder? I think yeah, I would go for no. You just go for Brahim. I think on the right, and Mbappe goes centrally. I think or Rodrigo, but probably Mbappe. Because
No, no.
Rodrigo looked very menacing on the left, but it's always the comfort of knowing that he can just slot in on the right. With Vinicius, you don't have that. But Rodrigo, every time he plays on the left, he just looks like exceptional. Like you could get so much more out of him on the left, but sadly, we've just got two of the best left wingers in the world.
That's true. We got three of the best left wingers in the world, So yeah, you do the ranking then. Anyways, but I think I actually would go differently. I'd also go with the exact same forward line as you mentioned, with Mbappe and Rodrigo, but I do think I will add an extra midfielder and Luka Modric into there
Yeah,
rather
to
than
keep a little bit more of control against Sevilla.
exactly.
I was gonna say that, but Modric, I think he started 2 games in a row now, so I don't know about his energy levels. You've got to manage that, right?
Yeah, but when you consider like Luka Modric came on, I think in the 60th minute or almost 70th minute in the game again in Doha anyway. So like it's not like he's tired or anything. And let's not forget like Luka Modric
Okay.
has started back-to-back games this season as well, and it also still delivered very well. So I do think for a home game, where to gain more control in the middle of the park, I do think like we start with Luka Modric. And one name I wouldn't discount is Dani Ceballos, honestly, because I kind of feel like Ceballos has been scapegoated
Agreed.
unfairly a couple of games. In the case in point, the game against Atalanta, for instance, I felt like Ceballos had done so well to start that game, but unfortunately he was back on the bench. And I do think, Dani Ceballos needs to be shown a bit more trust
Yeah.
because, as you rightly said, like when he's come on, he hasn't put the foot wrong. And this is the thing that I just keep. I mean, okay, yeah, I get your point where you're saying like talking about Tchouaméni and what happens is something that's still far away. I don't think it's that far away because I think the club has to start thinking about what happens next season. We're already like in December, it's January, right? When you look at what's happening now, is like we're having midfielders like Dani Ceballos who are literally on the fringes coming into the team and making a difference.
Yeah.
Camavinga has been out for a while, he's coming into the team and he's making a difference. Tchouaméni has been playing in this position for more or less 2 years, and he still has been unable to make a stamp. He still has been unable to make a difference. He still has been unable to like be undroppable.
Mm.
You
That's
understand?
true.
So like, that's why I feel like okay, yeah, like eventually, yeah, they say Tchouaméni is the third centre back. Like Tchouaméni is not a centre back that feels confidence into you. As a defensive midfielder, he's not that inspiring. You understand? We look at
Yeah.
when you play Dani Ceballos as a holder together with Fede Valverde. I'm just imagining play Dani Ceballos and Eduardo Camavinga as two holding midfielders. Like, man, that's gonna be bollocks, man. That's gonna be crazy. You understand? You give
Yeah.
Fede and what's he called? And
Camavinga.
Jude the ability, like Fede and like it's if they play a double pivot, with Ceballos, Camavinga, you give Fede and Jude that just roam around and do your shit on the left and the right respectively. It's like you just have a two-way engine going back and forth, for these two players, and like Camavinga and Dani Ceballos are just doing their thing, like recycling possession, winning the tackles, and starting up the whole play as well. So I think that could be something that's really quite interesting, and even with Luka Modric and and and
Yeah.
and 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 Camavinga playing at the base of the midfield, just trying to run the show and stuff like that. So that's why I just feel like for Tchouaméni as well, I do think he has to. But I agree on the last part of what you said that the season is long. He can always, like rediscover some things and stuff like that. But the point is just like it will be 2 years since he has been playing this position and he hasn't shown. Like
And
it's
where
not like
does
he's
he fit
been
into that equation, right? Because
exactly.
right now he's not. He's playing to the best of his abilities when he does in midfield, but he's still not good enough for this Real Madrid team, I think, to start every game and still seem at home. It doesn't feel like he's naturally adaptable in that defensive midfield role, or does he have the kind of distribution, the kind of ball progression, forward passing that Camavinga can offer you as a defensive midfielder? I know Camavinga has, again, like I mentioned, a few errors in him, but Tchouaméni, he doesn't seem to offer enough. I know he's the stability in midfield is something you can talk about, but he doesn't seem to offer enough of everything that I mentioned. I just mentioned for me to really say that okay, you can make a case for him. But yeah, time will tell.
Exactly, time will tell indeed, but I think so far it's not looking the best because, like as we said, like he's a third option centre back, and I do think the club also are looking at centre back options because when you consider the age of Rudiger, the age of Alaba as well, and the injury history of Alaba, how difficult it has been
Both of
for
them,
him to,
Militao and Alaba.
I mean, exactly for Milita also doing the second ACL as well, not very good. Although still he's very young, but for Alaba it's like. Yeah, I mean, you have to put the age factor into there. You have to definitely consider the age and the injury as well, because we saw this with even enigmas like Zlatan. Like Zlatan literally got one ACL and he could not just be what he was
Same
anymore.
player,
So
yeah.
exactly. So and also because he got it at when he was I think 32 or 33, something like this. So like when you're getting it when you in later ages, like the body's just not able to heal itself back as it was. So this is just the thing. Like how does Alaba comes back? It's also a question, and also the age is also something that you always have to question as well. So I do think like the club will always is gonna be like for sure planning for that. And I do think I don't know what the club is thinking, but I do think we still need a different profile of a midfielder in this team. We need the profile of that creativity that I think we lack from all the four midfielders. Are all Jude and Fede and Camavinga and Tchouaméni. Like we lack that that player that's like a Martin Odegaard. Like we lack those kind of players. We like that profile of a midfielder. So I don't know if the club will also
We
look
do
at
have.
something like that.
We can just look internally and develop Arda Güler into the player that we want to see and give him the time to really mold into that same profile, because
Okay,
you know that he has the talent, but he just needs time to be that consistent.
that's a perfect shout. Like Arda Güler can be molded into that kind of player. I totally agree with you. And already he plays that role for Turkey. But what I'm just trying to highlight is that if you have that mold of a player in the team, it means that also now you can only play with either three midfielders or four midfielders, which means two
Yeah.
attackers. And the point right now is that like Chouameni hasn't given himself, or rather hasn't created the platform to be like, okay, I'm the undroppable person. If you have to integrate that profile, a different profile of a midfielder into the team as well, the first name you're dropping at least of now is Chouameni.
Yep.
You understand, right? So like that's what I'm saying. Like there definitely has to be, the next steps. Like there has to be a discussion of okay, how do we integrate creativity into this team? And as you rightly mentioned, like a player like a player like Arda Güler can literally be molded into that if he's given the opportunity. Of course, he can definitely be molded into that. He's done this for Turkey almost every semester of the year. He does this for Turkey. You understand? So we know that he can do this. So if
Right.
that player kind of comes into the team, a player like Chouameni, now questions are being asked about them. So this is just the thing. Like I do understand what you're saying that it's a question down the line, but I also think it's a question of the here and now as well. Because like next season is just is looming, So and one thing that this team lacks is creativity. That's just clear and obvious. But yeah, I mean, I think we basically named the 11. We went from Courtois, Fran to Rudiger, Chouameni, and Lucas Vasquez in the middle of the park. We had Camavinga and Fede Valverde, Jude Bellingham. And I went for Luka Modric, and you went for Brahim Diaz, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we have Rodrigo and Kylian Mbappe up top to round up the starting 11. But before we get the predictions, let's just read the chat and see what we have. Ashik says we will win against Sevilla. This is to the draw against that Dennis was highlighting, and he says it will be a tough one, not an easy one. Vini and Mbappe will light it up. Jude will continue his streak of scoring. I think I just jinxed it. me and my bloody big mouth. Don't worry, Ashik, it's going to continue. And then Hassan was saying, what do you think about starting Raul in the RB? I think he will be fine since he has pace and he's good in pass in general. At least he can perform better than Lucas Vazquez. What do you think, man? Asensio, the right back.
Asensio as a right back, I wouldn't mind it. We've tried Militao at right back in the past. I know Militao, he's very raw at right back, and you don't really see the best out of him there. But Asensio is someone you could see potentially because of his passing.
I see.
And he can link up with Valverde, I think, going down the right, but more than attacking input. I would just want somebody to be defensively solid and be unbeatable in the 1v1. More than anything, yeah, that's what I would ask of Asensio. But I wouldn't mind trying him there. I just know Ancelotti's not going to do it.
Yeah, but I think that's sort of thing. Like, I mean, whatever you want to say about Lucas Vazquez, you can question his, offensive output and his link up with the people in front of him. But that's the question now that you would have to ask with, Asensio as well. Asensio is going to be, Asensio Asensio is a better defender of the ball, but like on the wing as well, when you're isolated 1v1, how does Asensio cope with that? I think that's a lot of questions that has to be asked. And I don't think you don't want to start that against, a player in form like Luka Vazquez, honestly, in my opinion. So I just see like you play it safe and, you can try all this in the upcoming games. And I just think like, the game against Sevilla might be too big to, like kind of experiment that. And also, as you said, like, Carlo Ancelotti is not one to, for experimental trials. Let's just put it that way. And furthermore, we have Sid in the chat. Sid says Vini is suspended. So who do you expect to start in front of him or rather in place of him? So I think, yeah, we answered that already. Like I chose Modric and, he was saying Brahim. And Ashik says, okay, never mind. Vini is not scoring. Vini is not playing, so he would not score. He says Rodrigo will get a goal as well. And Ashik was saying, guess Rodrigo and Kiki starts up front. Bromi King behind them. I like Brahim, but he does better off the bench. I see Luca, Fede, Kama behind the Bromi King. I'd swap Kiki for Dani Ceballos, to be honest. Come on, like Kylian Mbappe has been, has been doing a bit better in the coming weeks. So like swapping Kylian Mbappe for Dani Ceballos will be, will be a bit, because if you swap Kylian Mbappe for Dani Ceballos, you have just one attacker up front, and it's just Rodrigo. Although like Brian Diaz also is considered an attacker, but I do think that's too extreme. I don't know. What do you think?
No. It's just you can make a case for Ceballos playing for someone else, because you can say that okay, Kamavinga is not 100% fluent or fit at this moment, but not Mbappe, because the last thing you want to take away from Mbappe is momentum. I know there's not really too much of that going into the new year, and then you can rest him, but then because of the fact that he has a little bit of momentum built up these past few games, he's been scoring, he's been feeling more at home on that left wing. He's been linking well, coming into the center of the pitch. I don't think it's questionable. It's up for question for that matter.
No, actually, no, I should just made a new comment. He was saying like not Kika. I meant Luca. It was autocorrect apparently that made it that. So he was talking about Luka Modric.
So Modric.
Exactly, which is also like something that we also discussed as well, in the fact that like playing, Dani Ceballos ahead of Luka Modric also wouldn't be too bad. I do think that makes sense as well. And also and I think that also just, like kind of rewards the good form that Dani Ceballos has been in so far this season. I definitely do appreciate that. And Sunil is in the chat as well, says big up the channel, big up the panel. She continues by saying, I want Ceballos to have the game of the life. Imagine having Sunil and Doris finally praise Ceballos. This is a moment that's worth waiting for. And Sunil replied that until Ceballos makes our team of the season, we need a major title. It will be a matter of what could be. So yeah, that's just the thing, like Dani Ceballos might just be, out to prove the doubters wrong this year, Let's see. But yeah, I do, like definitely Sunil also has a point about the fact that, like for Dani Ceballos, it's about the fact of consistency. He hasn't been able to do it for a long stretch of the period, in important games. And in some important games he's done it. Let's give credit where it's due, but the continuity hasn't just been there. This is just the big stain on his career so far at Real Madrid. But I think with that we can slowly call it a wrap, and we can just go to the predictions. And already
Yep.
we've had, Dennis say it's going to be a draw. Ashik say it's going to be a victory for Real Madrid. So what's your take, sir?
My prediction. Okay, so going into this game, we lost at Athletic and then we drew Rayo. But yeah, in contrast to those games, it does feel like a more straightforward home fixture, especially after the Club World Cup triumph. So I would go a comfortable 2-0, 2-0 at home to close off the year.
Yeah.
Also,
So,
is Boxing Day a concept in football? Like, I don't know if it's
in Spain, there isn't like, but in like the Premier League, it exists.
right. Okay.
In Spain, like after this game, like there is a holiday till I think the first week of January or second week of January.
Yeah.
I think first week of January, yeah, more or less. Yeah, in
So
Spain.
technically, this is Boxing Day for.
Exactly, more or less this, and it's actually a very good one because like as we started the show with like Barcelona literally plays Atleti right after that, so a victory for Real Madrid just like takes off to the top, and like you just sit with your popcorn and watch the drama unfold. Barcelona
Yeah.
against Atletico Madrid.
Like, I don't care how we win at this point. Even a narrow victory over Sevilla would do, and then you can just sit back, relax, watch Atleti Barca fight it out.
Exactly. Yeah. So and yeah, for me also like I'll go with like more or less a 3-1 victory. I do think like we win, but I do think like we don't keep that clean sheet. So I agree with the the two goal margin that you said. But yeah, I do think like a 3-1 victory, like for Real Madrid, is all we should expect tomorrow. And yeah, I do think
Fair enough.
the big shooters are gonna be in the scoring as well, Kylian Mbappe and Rodrigo, to just name them. Well, yeah, I think with that we come to the end of the yeah. Okay, so we have two new chats with Sunaid saying we come back on January 3rd against away to Valencia de Mestalla, and Ashik was also okay. Yeah, we had the same. He also said 3-1. We have to give up a goal to maintain our consistency, more or less. That's very true. And Sunaid was very bold with his prediction. He was predicting a 4-0 victory for Real Madrid. Very bold indeed. Well, anyways, with that, any last thoughts, Saya?
Yeah, I think we've just got to end the year on a high, and then we can go on and defy our usual January decline and not let that happen this year. Um, even in the Champions League, actually, it's very important for us to keep going and win those last two games. Obviously, La Liga rides its own tails, and if Barca do drop off, we're there for the taking.
Definitely. Like end the season on a high. Sorry, end the year on a high. It's been a very interesting year this year with 5 titles out of possible 6. So it's been a very good year for the club and for us the fans as well. Let's just end it on a high note with a victory at the end of the year, and we couldn't ask for anything more. And with that, we just shout out our partners, our Real Madrid committee. Check them out on Instagram for all the visuals and artwork for the club. They're doing a very good job. You can find the description down you can find the link to them in the description down below. And one final shout out to our sponsors. We talked about Manscaped. You can get 20% discount of the merch, and you can find the link to that 20% discount in the chat, and also the code is LBR20 for 20% discount on Manscaped. And also like Fanatics are the largest apparel sellers online. You can find also the link down below, just to show some support to the channel, to the podcast, for us to keep doing what we're doing. And we're also part of the Talksport Fan Network. Talksport is the biggest football radio show in the UK, and we're super glad and honored to be part of such a family. And you can just also find the link to that down in the description below. And with that, we sign out by saying Hala Madrid, and see you on the next on the post match. Hala Madrid.
Hala Madrid.